big movie buff, old movies. And no one's, I don't care who you are, Tom Selleck. Remember him? And man, he was slim, and look at him now. He's aged, and he's gained weight and in all the wrong places, and try to lose weight. And when you get older, and it just won't go away.
It's like my friends now, Coach. I just keep them close. I think I just broke Daryl.
But Daryl, how's your corporation doing?
Good.
Well, we're going to be talking today. I'm going to be kind of doing the whole thing. Just thought it'd be a good change of pace. Telling my story, history of the company, what motivates me, my methodology, and why I created what we created, and it all goes back to we had a great meeting yesterday with Omar, and I texted James today. He called and said he enjoyed the meeting yesterday, and I said, well, you gotta love accumulating money, not building a business, not recruiting, not all the mechanical stuff. People that win the Super Bowl say, the reason I just love hitting people, I just love working out, they just love winning. And eventually you have to get to the point where making money and accumulating money, you love doing it. You saw Omar, he loves accumulating money. And in the faith that down the road, you'll find a reason for that. Right now, you can't imagine. Why just trust the inspiration that comes to you to make and accumulate money? Like Mike Tuttle, he didn't know when he was recruiting and building and wanting to make money and he was hungry to make money and hungry that nobody had their thumb on him. He didn't know he'd be down in Cabo San Lucas passing out $10,000 in cash every time he goes and paying for operations and building houses and building schools he didn't know that. So, but when you're called on, it's going to be there for you. You have to trust that the inner desire to do that is coming from a special place, that you've been chosen to make money and accumulate money. We never think about, you take a look at a lot of the history of the church. All these famous church, we call them doctors of the church, basically, the writers that wrote, they come from wealthy families. Now, families didn't know why they wanted to become wealthy. But the bottom line is, the wealthy people taught their children how to read and write and think, and were educated so that these doctors of the church could write and they could put down theological things. And so just have faith that there's something going on that I won't see for maybe decades as to why I'm supposed to make and accumulate money. But no, it's not your selfishness, it's not your pride, it's not your greed, it's not that at all. Bill and Melinda Gates, they've been in the news. He's given away $54 billion already. And he never gets any credit for that. In sex trafficking, my daughter worked for an organization called IJM at one time, International Justice Mission, which is involved in eliminating sex trafficking in the world. And everybody poo-poos money. There's more life than money. Money doesn't buy you happiness, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's their excuse for not making accumulating money and holding themselves accountable for it. Bill Gates donated $5 million to IJM for the specific reason to eliminate sex slavery in the Philippines. And how do you eliminate sex slavery? You hire the lawyers, you hire the investigators, you pay these women when they get out, and you give them schools so they can have a career. And it eliminated 80% of all the sex trafficking in the Philippines. Did he know that when he started and building and all that stuff? He didn't know that. And so you got to trust that there's something going on in your life that has not been unveiled yet. There's a reason you're joined Primerica. There's a reason you've been called on to accomplish great things. Our Bible study on Wednesday is going to be, what if God called you to do great things? And the subject is Moses. Moses was a criminal. He was a criminal who killed somebody, and he ran from justice. And he was on the lam. And he wallowed around in obscurity for 40 years before God was preparing him to do something great. And we've got to see Art Williams really hit. We've got to see ourselves involved in something bigger than just our business. But the significance of that is, you don't know why. There's no, but like Steve Jobs said, the dots always connect when you look backwards. They always connect. Like you and Amy, the dots connect. Now you can see why maybe you got disappointed with that church. And maybe that's why you changed churches. Maybe that's why that didn't work out with that other girl. Maybe it didn't. And all of a sudden, Amy. And look, now I can see it. Now I can see how we were moved by this invisible hand to accomplish something that only he knew what we want to accomplish. But you got to have an imagination to put seed in the ground and thinking that thing's going to grow into something. Every year in the fall and in a spring, we've got these crepe myrtles. And come February, you say there's no way these crepe myrtles will ever blossom. They're just branches, and there's nothing there's no way anything could come from it. And sure enough, 2 months later, all this, you can't see it because our feeble minds. So anyway, have respect for the instinct you have to build something here, create something here, make money here, take people with you. See, the thing that Omar never talks about is, what's his net worth? His net worth is $12 million, he said. But if you take a look at the accumulated net worth of all his people, with Willie Naranjo making $3 million, and all his RVPs and the good, not only he's doing his money because he's doing this, but how many widows has he made wealthy so that nobody's got their thumb? How many reps have paid off their cars? How many people have bought new houses? That ripple is huge. And every last one of us, not like a pond where the ripple will end one day, our ripples never end. Art Williams is still, we're feeling the effects of his ripples and will for the next 100 years. I heard this quote: I can never, when he dies, I will never get over, I will get over his death, but I will never get over his life. And that's the thing that we're doing, Daryl. We're instigating something in our lives that'll impact people. You know, I just got a thing from a kid the other day. He's graduating from high school, and I paid for his grade school and high school education at this private Christian school, which I believe in. And you know, he's the only one that's ever thanked me via letter come to my graduation. I've done it with quite a few. There's about at least a $70,000 or $80,000 investment in him. Yet one child that I don't know, that I'm hoping and believing that because of that, he will send ripples. My job is not to pay for his education so that he has a nice home and a nice car and has a nice life. No, to cause ripples that will please God. And if he said, well, I got a good job now, that's all I wanted, thank you very much. Is that it? Is that all you got? Carol, she's not in the room right now, but if she'd be in the room right now, she'd be gone. Why do you have to talk so deep? I mean, it's early in the morning. Ah. So that's why I'm on you, Daryl. That's why I'm on all you folks. There's something going on in your life that's needs to see some fruit, and Primerica is just the tool. All it is, the tool. It's a vehicle, and but it's sad when we get the tool and put it down and don't do anything with it, and we could have accomplished great things. I heard this great quote. We have to think what we would have forfeited had we not persisted. We not just kept at it. Just think of what we would have forfeited. Myself, Omar, what we would have forfeited if we just decided to be average and ordinary and didn't have someone like Art Williams to follow and persisted. Right, Dan? So they can't talk about that for a second, and persistence and sticking to it. And where does that come from, Dan?
First of all, Bill, you can just keep on keeping on. We all love it. Where's that come from? I don't, Art said a long time ago, you got to plant your flag, and you just got to see yourself, I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it here, but this is where I'm planting. And I'm telling you what, when he said that years ago to me, that just so resonated. And you know what happens too is, and we've seen it, especially back over that little period of time when everything was kind of frayed. The guys and gals that, they're in for a little while because okay, I'm going to work at this thing. Art always said, you got to be, the winner stays excited for as long as it takes. Everybody can be excited for a week, a month, a year. And how many people do we see come on in and they're excited for a little while, and then things get a little rough. And this is the same thing in marriage or relationships. And then they leave, and then it's just habitual. What do you always say? How you do anything is how you do everything. And they leave, and they don't get anything done over there, because as soon as it starts getting a little rough, the waters get rough, they jettison again, they pull the ripcord, and to win at anything, you plant your flag, like you and Art always said, and you just bear it out. And doggone it, how many times, and every one of us have had this feeling before, that when things do get a little rough and we just hang in there, and it's just like a little bit longer, and then it's like the storm clears and things are moving again. And so to answer that question, Bill, I think it's just how bad, like you always say, how bad you want to be somebody, how bad you want to do something. You just suck it up, and you just, nothing is easy. now everything, nothing, everything's going to have its moment. Everything's going to have a moment. You play a chess game with somebody. I mean, everything has that moment, and you just got to like have the blinders on. You just got to I don't know, you just got to kind of like keep focused, and all of a sudden the storm clears. I mean, am I right?
You're right. And when you plant your flag, you don't feel all that stuff. Hey,
Yeah.
Tony, do we have that video of Tom Cruise in the movie Far Away? Have you got that? Again, let me know if you got that, and maybe we can show it at the end when I'm finishing up. I did mention something in our Bible study the other day. The word amen should not be used tritely. It should be, it's my word. It's not just what I'm saying, it's my word is my bond. And when I say amen, it means you can count on me. And when I hear the talk about planting your flag, it's not, I planted my flag. It's no, I planted my flag. It's mine. This is my territory. This is my life. This is my opportunity. This is my company. This is mine. And I'm going to make something out of it. See the difference? Those of us that are in this are in it. It's not a thing to us. We're not casual about it. Yeah, we're over, to the real world, we're a bunch of nuts. I love what Peter Drucker said. Anything that's ever been accomplished in life has been accomplished by a nut on a mission. If the world doesn't look at you like you're a nut, then you're probably not going to accomplish anything. And I love what Bill Gates said. He didn't take a vacation for 7 years. But it wasn't denying himself. Most people take a vacation because they hate their jobs. They can't wait. And if you looked at him, he said, I didn't need a vacation. I loved it. I'm young, and this is something I do. And I get tired, I go take a nap. So the question is, I love the term. Thank you, Dan, for bringing it up. Are you planting your flag here? And what are you going to build on your property that you own? That you've been assigned to accomplish great things. And when you own it, you take a different perspective on things. Our word for the day, stalwart. STALWART. It means loyal, reliable, and hardworking. Stalwart. He's a stalwart. I wanted to be Art's stalwart. I wanted to be Art's cornerstone. I wanted to be Art's foundation. He can count on me. And when Jesus, if would have been asked, well, what if the disciples, the apostles didn't pursue this and grow it? He said, oh no, I trusted them to do it. Our job is to take what's been given and grow it. No plan B for us. And today's going to be an interesting day. Today is Saturday. You know what Saturday is? It's great Saturday training. This is the day that I think we accomplish great things. And so today, at least this morning, I'm kind of going on a different path. Instead of our normal Saturday training, we've got a party going on, being prepared today. Some people are using our pavilion, and so the party planners are out and about. They have party planners for this party, and my party planner is this exceptional woman named Carol Orender. She was always good. I used her all the time. Didn't have to pay her anything either. That's what I thought until I had to pay for this house. But let me just, I've got a whole thing I'd like to talk to you about today. And, in my mind, you're in my living room, just all of us just sitting there talking. And, and I've said, well, what kind of questions would people ask me? My story is typical Primerica story. Where am I from? I'm from the south side of Chicago. if you know anything about the South Side of Chicago, that's where all the murders are right now in Chicago. You hear about all the killings. That's on the east side. We're on kind of by Midway Airport. And I was born until I was 10 years old. We lived about 2 miles from downtown Chicago. I mean, we used to go downtown Chicago to go to movies. Take a bus when I was 10, 11 years old to go to a movie. And we lived down in that area, I'm sorry, till I was 13. And till I was 10, we lived in a cold water flat. Cold water flat means there's no hot running water. And so you had to go upstairs. There's 2 bedrooms, my mother and my father, and then Chris, my sister, and I had bunk beds. And we had a commode that we had to share with the apartment behind us. So, you know, when you go to the bathroom, you know, put a little thing on there so he can't get in, and you do your stuff and then you leave, and hopefully you take it off. And heaven forbid if you forget, you lock him out, he can't go to the bathroom. He raised his holy ruckus. And we took sponge baths every morning. Every morning, my mother just beat us up with over the sink with, you know, cold water because we didn't have any hot water. And then on Saturday nights, we would get a galvanized tub, if you know what those are, and fill it with water. My mother, my sister would always first. She always get first because she's the firstborn. You know how they are. They got to be first. And then I would take a bath, and then my mother would take a bath. My father would shower at work. They were factory workers. That's how we lived until I was 13 years old. And then we moved and to some place where didn't you have a shower? You had a bathtub back in those days. And why am I telling you all this? Is because I think a lot of people think, well, they're different than me, and that my life is not a life of you got to be something special. You got to be, you know, you got to come from rich people. And I tell you, the thing I love, Dan, about our business is that our business is built by nobodies from nowhere who have never accomplished anything. And so I struggled through high school. I was actually, there was 300 kids in my graduating class. I was number 150. And my best friend in school was number 151 until I realized years later, he and I were both hanging around the wrong people. And I always envied the smart people, thinking, I am going to struggle in life because I'm not smart like them. I was not good in science. I was not good in math. And the world dislikes people today who are not good in science and math. They tolerate people like me who are not good in science and math. Because what? Teachers love smart kids. Easier. And kids that struggled really cause teachers have to work more. So finally graduated from high school, you know, with the C average, went to college, immediately flunked out. I didn't know what else to do. And so I went to work in a factory where I worked for months and months and months, almost 2 years in a factory, wearing a hard hat and metatarsal boots, the same factory my dad worked in. And I'll never forget when I decided to go back to college, I told those guys, that's it, at the mill, I'm out of here. And I went back, I flunked out and had to go back to work there. And every one of them were disappointed. They said, Bill, we thought you were the one that got out of here. Get out of here. I mean, because if you don't, I said, I won't be here long. They said, we all said that 20 years ago. And life happened just like that. Now, 20 years later, we're still here. But we didn't plan to be here more than a year or two. And I learned from those guys how I didn't want my life to turn out. And so I went back to a junior college, we call them back then. Now it's community college or whatever they call them, 2-year school. And I did that at night while I was going to working during the day and with the steel mill. And then I applied to like 5 different schools. And there's one that accepted me, Eastern Illinois University. Again, the dots are all aligned. And of course, ultimately, a year and a half after I got there, I met Carol. because she had flunked out of school, because you heard me say this. And I had concerns about maybe getting serious with Carol because she had flunked out, I had flunked out. And we were very concerned whether or not we'd have idiots as children. Because, but it kind of worked out well. And I started excelling at school because I'd finally matured, not in science and math, but at least getting some decent grades. And so we graduated with a 4 point. She had 2 points, I had 2 points. So that's a 4 point for us. And I took the first job offer I had. It's amazing. I'd interviewed with like 5 or 6 different companies and one job offer. So I was a real winner. And I don't know why, maybe it's because I wasn't supposed to be at a corporation the rest of my life. And so I took a job with a steel company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Again, Carol and I from Illinois. She's from Springfield, where Lincoln had he is buried, and he lived for many, many, many years. So there's a real history, and I really enjoy reading about Lincoln and his life. By the way, Abraham Lincoln, of all the books written about any human being that ever walked this earth, Jesus Christ was number 1, Lincoln was number 2, which is fascinating. And so I went to work at Pittsburgh for the steel company. I thought I'd be there for the rest of my life. That's why I'd go on to college. I was brainwashed and to have a menu life, we call it, right off the menu. This is the menu. This is all you can accomplish. So pick something and go for it. That's what they say. Choose a career. That's a menu. And heaven forbid you're to have it off the menu life. And so when I went to Pittsburgh, I was all full of spit and vinegar. I was really ready. And then several months later, I noticed that there's about 3 or 4 guys that would go out to lunch with the big boys. And I thought, how do you go out to lunch with those guys? Because I wasn't invited. And they were going, and I thought, well, how do you get ahead? You got to know the big guys. You're not going to get ahead being a good soldier. And so I went up to one of the guys and said, how do I get to go to lunch with you guys? He said, well, where'd you go to college? I said, Eastern Illinois University. For those of you that know Tony Romo, that's where he went to school. And Jimmy Garoppolo, who's down with the 49ers, that's where he went to school. And some of you old timers, a guy named Burl Ives went there. So that's about it. Central Illinois, it's all teacher college and just a bunch of farm boys and girls. And so he said, oh no, we all went to Harvard, Princeton, and Yale, and we go to the Harvard, Princeton, Yale club for lunch. And I knew right then and there, I had no career there. My career was over in an instant. Isn't that something? That's what happens when you get a menu life. And so I kept thinking, there's got to be a way of life. There's got to be more than this. And I was in Aiken, South Carolina, when I finally, they transferred us down to, again, the history is amazing. The dots all connect. We were living in Pittsburgh, and we came to finally graduate from training, and he sent me down to Atlanta, Georgia, which is not the hotbed for steel. That's not where they go if you got a good future. But I didn't go to Harvard, Princeton, and Yale. Those guys went to all the industrial cities up north. And so my territory was Georgia and South Carolina. And I was sitting in Aiken, South Carolina, and I was drinking in those days. And that's what you do. After a day's work, you go to the bar. And I was sitting at the bar, and there's a mirror there. And I saw all these old guys that had been doing what I've been doing, but they've been doing it for 30 years. And I looked at them and I saw myself in that mirror, and I said, dear God, I don't want this life. I want a better life. I don't want to be here 30 years from now, looking at a mirror and sucking on some drink, trying to, all I can think about getting home tomorrow. And so we're living in Atlanta, and but my soil was getting prepared. I was starting to I desire more out of life. I desired to have a better life, and the menu life was not something I was rejecting it. And I had a price to pay if you reject the menu life. I mean, society doesn't like you if you reject the menu life. They condemn you. You're one of those, and you're crazy. you're getting off the beaten path and you're coloring outside the lines. And so I met with Virginia Carter socially, and it was one of those things where she called me, and here's what she said. Well, this is interesting to me. There's only 3 things. We had a meeting one time, and all the $1 million earners, there were like 7 of them. All of us were up there and said, what did they say to you on the phone to get you at least interested? And there's only 3 things. Think about that. Not a million, 3 things. Pick one of these. Mine was, Bill, we're looking for people and they can make $500 to $1,500 a month part-time. If you like it a lot, make $50,000 to $100,000 a year full-time. Let's get together and have a cup of coffee. That's it. That's what got me. And the other one was, the other people I heard was, would you be open for a career change if the money were right? Or, let me show you something on a part-time basis. You might like it. That was it. I mean, there's no fancy words, no perfect scripts, but you got to say it to a lot of people. And so I met Virginia Carter at a Denny's restaurant. Now remember this, I had owed my wife's uncle some money. I will tell about that in a second. But Daryl, I already went there with my mind made up. No matter what she was going to say, I wasn't going to be interested, because I wanted to keep the thought that if I don't accomplish things, it's because I never saw the right thing. Because that's what a lot of people think. Then they have their excuse. The reason why I didn't make it, I never saw the right thing. If I saw the right thing, I could. I would not have picked this industry. I would not have picked this method of marketing. That's not what I learned in school, and that wasn't what the menu life required. And so I sat down with Virginia, and I was not arrogant, but I was a little aloof. And I sat down with her, and I already made up my mind I wasn't interested, and I wasn't really listening. And if you know Virginia, she's she passed away 11 years ago, June 18th. And she said, Bill, you're not listening, are you? Because you know Virginia, the really nice woman, Nancy, don't you? But there's the other side of Virginia. No one ever saw the mother. The mother's really nice, and all of a sudden you get one of those. My mother was like that. My mother never hit me. She hit my sister. I thought, my sister's crazy. All I got to do is look at my mother and I'd straighten up. And Virginia said, Bill, if I could, again, I made $50,000 last year. This is critical. You got to make money here. If you want to recruit the big fish, you got to start making some money, because people want to know how much money are you making? And a lot of people hide behind that, because I love what I do and I'm here to help people. Money's not important to me. Well, you're not going to recruit anybody of note. And so she said, when can you see yourself making $50,000 a year? And the answer was never. Even my boss at the steel company wasn't making 50. Don't you hate that word, boss, job, career? And so I don't know what it caused me, but I started listening for the first time in my life, humbled myself to start listening. And I went home and I didn't do anything for a month, nothing, because my soil was getting prepared, but I didn't have the seed put in, because I believe there has to be a trigger event in your life. Like my father smoked from age 10 to age 50. At age 50, he went to the doctor. The doctor said, if you don't stop smoking, you'll be dead in 2 years. He quit like that. He quit drinking like that. Why? Because he'd be dead. And what's your trigger event? Everybody on this, what is your trigger event? What's going to happen where you finally say, I've had it, no more, I'm better than this. I've got to start using the tools that I've been given. All of you are sitting here and watching on this program. You haven't had your trigger event. And when it comes, it's going to cut you to the core. It's going to challenge you. because you have to have humiliation before you start making any changes. And thank you for reminding me of that, Tony. And so mine came when I was washing my uncle's car on a Saturday afternoon, and I owed the world about $17,000. I owed my wife's uncle $4. And in schools I tell this story, and I said, "You see anything wrong with me washing my car on a Saturday afternoon?" No. See, that's the problem. I owed the world $17,000. Well, what? And I was not eager to pay him off. People have $30,000 of credit card debt, and they're going out enjoying the ball game today. You got $30,000 in credit card debt. What is wrong with you? You see, when my wife's uncle called me, I was washing the car, and Carol said, "Uncle Bill's on the phone." My heart sunk. My moment of humiliation. And that's what we all need. Like, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he said, "I went to the doctor and he told me I needed to lose weight." I said, "I could have told you that. Saved you a lot of money." But, it's humiliating to go to the doctor and him say, "You need to lose weight." Everybody knows they need to lose weight, but they always, when I went to the doctor, he said, "Well, the mirror tells me every day I need to lose weight." And so I made that long walk up to our apartment, and I was living a great life, living in an apartment, and can't pay my bills. I owed 17. I couldn't pay off my debt, and I was washing my car, enjoying a ball game. Man, if you have any debt at all, there's nothing you should have been enjoying right now other than work until you're out of debt. Completely. Zero. How much debt does God want you to have? Zero. So you're defying and being disobedient like I was. And my uncle, I gave him some lame excuse. The steel industry every year gave a bonus. And this year, the steel workers were on strike. I didn't get my bonus. I never got a bonus. There's someone who's always on strike. They promised you the bonus, never gave it to you. You know what he said to me? "I understand." It was my moment of humiliation when I was cut to the core by his words. What did he say? It's not what he said, it's how he said it. "I understand, Bill. I understand." Which means, Bill, how can you have allowed yourself to let this happen to you? You're better than this. My life changed at that moment, and I needed that kick in the pants. And so I called Virginia up. "I'm ready, Virginia." And she said, "All right, put me in front of 2 people a night, every night for the next 2 weeks." She didn't have to say anything other than that. I didn't have to listen to a tape. I didn't have to read a book. I didn't even know what to say. But you know something? I said it. So we had 20 appointments in 2 weeks. And she was so wonderful. She picked me up, and I'll never forget. She always had her iced tea. She always drove her car with her right foot bare. She hated shoes putting on. That was Virginia, and she said, "Okay, where are we going?" And I would take her on an appointment. Again, if I want you to book appointments for your people, but if you have to keep doing it, you're hiring the wrong people. They should be able to open the door for you. But I don't wait for that stuff to happen. And so we made 14 sales in 2 weeks, recruited 3 people, and my life began. And I started working, and I started talking. And I don't know where it came from. There was something that came out of me when you have a purpose and a vision and a meaning. Getting out of debt was my reason. Not getting wealthy, getting out of debt. And that's got to be your first step to wealth. 6 months from now, if you have any debt other than your home, and by the way, in about 2 or 3 years, you should have your house paid for. And so I paid him off in 6 weeks. And I started feeling the joy and the incredible validation of being out of debt. And I love that people liked what I did. We went in there and we saved them money. We gave them more protection. And I started sensing the crusade until you get out there and see what the real world is like. I had a $25,000 whole life policy, spending $40 a month. And Virginia gave me $125,000 for $25 a month and put another 15 in a mutual fund. You see that? And 6 months later, I was out of debt. I love, Daryl, getting a check and writing a check, get out of debt. I didn't take that check and have dinner and buy fancy clothes or even invest it. I used it to get out of debt. I was passionate about getting out of debt. I love writing those checks to get out of debt. I hate that. No, you don't hate debt bad enough. You're tolerating debt. When you tolerate debt, you'll never be wealthy. And that's where most people are. They'd rather have that new $50,000 car and zero debt. They got to have that car. No, give me a paid for car. And so I started putting money 6 months later, not into debt. I was debt free, but in the mutual funds. And I start seeing those. Now I get a check and I got the habit of saving 50, 60% of whatever check I got in the mutual funds. And I started accumulating mutual funds. I love getting out of debt and I love accumulating money in mutual funds. Why? Because when you're putting money away, you have no debt. When you look at that, like Omar talked about, he looks at his net worth. I looked at mine every week. Why? I love the feeling of looking at that and saying, I finally have something. I've got some wherewithal now. I'm not broke all the time. And my first step to wealth is I hated debt. Second, I got out of debt. Third, I started accumulating money and accumulating money and accumulating money. And anyone that says, well, there's more to life than money, good luck with that one. When that check engine light comes on your financial statement one day, you'll say, what went wrong? When your car, when your life shuts down on a major highway because you're broke, because why? You didn't pay attention to accumulating money. All of us are overcoming the menu life of just be happy, just work, don't worry about accumulating money. Let me tell you something. I need to make more money than I'm making. I need to accumulate more money than I'm accumulating. Kirko says, can't you ever be? No. Rabbi Lappin said, to an ambitious, driven person that has great goals, you're never satisfied. Well, what's going to set? Why are we buying into? You got to be satisfied. You got to be happy. Those people are a dirge on society. Why? Because they eventually want your money because they're broke, and take from those people and give it to me. And I'm going to vote for that man to do it. That's how they operate life, you see? And they condemn you for 30 years because you're one of those, all you think about is money people. Well, I went full time. I'm starting to preach a little bit now, forgive me. And this is going to be it for another hour. So hang in there, folks. I've got a lot to say. And so I went full time. And in March, Carol was pregnant with our third child. We bought a house, and I tell you, when I bought that house, again, I was 13 years old before my parents bought a house, 13. And I didn't want to raise my children in an apartment. And so I bought a house, and it was in Lilburn, Georgia, outside of Atlanta. And I loved it. I loved every day going home, and even like working in the yard and all that kind of stuff. Wasn't good at it, but and Carol has not worked since we had our first child. And so we'd worked. I had a discipline. All I knew is that if I had 10 appointments a week, everything was going to work. And so I didn't worry about anything else. I read a book called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Sales by Frank Bettker. Changed my life. And that's where I got the understanding of monetizing everything. I didn't have 10 appointments. I was making $150 per appointment. So I was making $1,500 a week. Well, not really 50. My last year as an RL, back in those days, I made $52,000. No bonuses, no mutual fund sales. We all monthlies, but nothing big. I made $52,000 as an RL back then. Nowadays, you get to watch. Jeez. And you got this great big paycheck and everything else. And so Art walked into my office, and I didn't know it, but he said, Bill, we were #1 in all A.L. Williams at that time in our base shop. I was under Virginia in her base shop. I was an RL. And so we were doing like 50, 60 life apps a month, 20, 25 recruits a month. And we had built, and I didn't worry about RVP because there was already 7 RVPs, and one, Randall Walker, was the 8th. And we would eventually become the 9th RVP in company history. And so he walked into my office and said, Bill, you ready to go RVP? I said, anytime, just tell me, Art, you're ready. You know more about it. I have total trust and faith in you. He said, great. When you're ready, but you can't stay in Georgia. You have to leave. Because, and he went on to explain, he had just come from the insurance commissioner's office in downtown Atlanta, where he and Bo Adams sat down with Johnny Caldwell, who was, this history is incredible, with Johnny Caldwell, who was the insurance commissioner of Georgia. And Johnny Caldwell looked him in the eye and said, Art, you're a crook, and we're going to put you out of business. Unbeknownst to me, weeks later, they were going to pass a law in Georgia saying that if you replace the whole life insurance policy with term, you get paid no commission. They tried to pass that law. And Bob Turley was one of the original 7. He knew a politician that he talked to. He said, well, let's meet somewhere and let's talk about this. And so it's like in a movie. He went to a hotel room, Bob Turley, Bo Adams, and Art Williams, and this cigar smoking room politician said, give me $10,000 and we'll make sure that this bill never passes. This is, again, $10,000 back then is like $50,000 today. For one, Art didn't have $10,000. And he said, I don't want to have to pay people off just to stay in business. What we're doing is right. See, that's the war we had going on in those days. And so I picked Dallas, Texas. Had never been here before in my life. The movie Dallas was on TV. And so, we saw Dallas every week, flying over with the Hyatt Hotel like everybody knows today. And I thought, I'm going to go to Dallas. I'd never been here before, didn't know anybody here, but I knew Carol was going to have our baby, Aaron, around the middle of June. So I knew that 6 weeks later, approximately August 1st, we'd be able to leave. And so God bless Carol. Oh my gosh. We left on August the 1st with a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-week-old. My dad was driving one car, I was driving the other. We didn't know where we were going to live. I didn't fly here to check things out. I just picked a hotel room. Turned out to be, Days Inn, and called a realtor and rented a house for, I didn't know how long until we got into a house. We got in a house about 2 months later. And we were the first expansion RVP out. We had no plan B. Art Williams said, you're going to do it here or not do it here, like you were talking about, Dan. We planted that flag, but Carol really planted her flag. Geez. And my daughter, Catherine, has got a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 18-month-old, and she's going crazy. And she didn't have to move to a new city with a husband that's trying to work like a mad dog. Had no money coming in. And whatever money I earned, my first month here, I recruited 10 directs. And because I came with a bunch of referrals. I'm a referral fanatic. Why? Because if you got the names to call, you're going to make money. And so that's why when people don't get names at the interview, and I said, you're crazy. I can't help you. If you can't get names, you're just not hungry enough to make money and accumulate money, get out of debt. And then when you're ready, call me. Because you know how many people I told it, well, where did you find people to talk to? You see that? What do you think I do? I'm an idiot. I came to Dallas with everybody I met from March until August 1st. Who do you know in Dallas? Who do you know in Dallas-Fort Worth? Who do you know in Dallas-Fort Worth? And I came here with 200 names. See, we get 200 names of people who you know in Detroit. I can go to Detroit tomorrow and in 3 months and recruit 10 people in 1 month. people in Detroit are recruiting anybody. Yet they know everybody in Detroit, born in Detroit, raised in Detroit, living in Detroit, and they're not recruiting anybody. See, well, you gotta have a mindset for this stuff. Because why? I had 4 bodies at my house saying, feed me, feed me. And my wife saying, I need money, I need money. And guess what? I didn't go to the government saying, government, can you help me out? No. I went to the telephone. I thought, this is incredible. I can call somebody. I call 10 people. I get 3 appointments and I recruit 1 and make 2 sales. This is incredible. So maybe I'm over the top a little bit. Forgive me if I offend you, but I like what Angela Williams said. Our job is not to comfort the afflicted, but to afflict the comfortable. A lot of people on this call are too comfortable, way too comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of achievement. I'm not comfortable today in my life financially. I'm not comfortable in my marriage. I'm not comfortable in my spiritual life at all. I'm not satisfied with any of my physical life. Man, I got a lot of work to do on it. And I'm a reader. I love reading books because why? Every book I read, I'm 1 book better than before I read it, and I'm improving. And so we came here, and my first month here, we made $5,000 cash. And again, I didn't say I did 10 by 10. I didn't come here to do 10 by 10. I came here to make money. I came here to accumulate money. And I'm not going to tell you my number because I made money. And that was in September, January to January, I made 180. January, made 240. January, made over $300,000. Starting from scratch. Why? It's not me, it's the power of our system. And there's people out there, and none of them are with me anymore. They're all gone, but they led me to other people who led me to other people. Remember what Joe Tanzi said, 1 person should bring you 40. I got that one. I didn't know people, but they did. So I got names. And I knew that they knew people who knew people who knew people. So that's why I'm a fanatic on getting names and getting people for people for people for people. Because none of them went RVP the original 10. None of them lasted more than 6 months. But I got their people's people. And so what was happening in the company, when we left Waddell & Reed was our first company on February 10th of 1977, as you know. The reason why February the 10th of 1977 was critical, that was the day the check from Waddell & Reed came, the bonus check. And Art and Bobby and Virginia, they all got their checks on that day. And Art said, call the bank and said, did my check clear? Yes. He called to resign because he didn't want to resign and then have stop the check from clearing. And so that's the day it began, February the 10th of 1977. We all got the message, and Art was going around to all of his offices and telling people the story. We didn't even have a name for the company. I remember, it's hard to believe now. We asked Art, we didn't have any life insurance apps. Hard to believe. We had life insurance apps, Nancy, with United Investors Life Insurance on top. That was the Waddell & Reed company. And we cut off the top where it said United Investors. We had no names on the applications. And we went to Virginia's house that night or a couple nights later. And Art said, I got to make a phone call. And I heard him talking to Bill King from our company, First American National. Anyway, Joe Jack Merriman owned the company in Kansas City, Missouri. This company had, they're a health insurance company that happened to have insurance, a life insurance company, and that was the only company that would have us. The only company, this know nothing company, but they had some money. They said, I'll give you a try. They thought. One company of all these 2,400 companies, one company that we would find that would give us the business. And so, and he was, I said, I need spit kits. You know what a spit kit is. I need urine specimen bottles. We didn't have spit kits, by the way. You had all urine specimens. I need urine specimen bottles. And we don't have any forms. We don't have any of this. So we'd write life apps. Art would fly them up. They're out of Kansas City, but they had an office that wrote the checks in Minnesota, and they would handwrite the checks. Art would have a statement there saying Bill Orender, $300, Virginia Carter, $400. Then he'd fly back, and he'd do that every week. We didn't have these fancy computer stuff. We didn't have a home office, and boy, the insurance industry was starting to we punched that hornet's nest, and they started coming out of the woodworks. And I had a temporary. When I came to Texas, I had a temporary license just to do business, and I couldn't get a license. I couldn't get a clearance from Georgia because I was on this hot list. There had 100 people that they were after to shut them down and to take their licenses away. And Art had some lawyers that were working on it, and I was one of the guys. I didn't do anything wrong, but I was with A.L. Williams. And by the way, it's on February 14th of 1977 that we even coined the name A.L. Williams, and it was in my home. Virginia Carter's daughter, Ricky, was getting married. We had an engagement party, and Art was there in Virginia Carter's base shop. And one of my guys, in fact, the last time I saw Angela, we were kind of talking about this. Where'd the name come from? He said, "Oh, Art Burgess." She remembered Art Burgess. He was in my base shop. And he said, "Art, why don't we call it A.L. Williams after you?" And that's how the name stuck. We didn't have a name. We didn't have any policies. All we had was a dream. We had planted our flag. And so we started fighting it. And then I remember I walked into the office one day. You walk into again, Virginia Carter and Bobby Buisson took out 5-year leases on office space, not knowing whether or not we'd be around tomorrow. And so she had the left side. Art's office, his secretary's in front. He had an office behind her. Virginia's base was on the left. Bobby was on the right. And I walk in one day, I hear screaming. Art Williams on the phone. Joe Jack Merriman had called him and said, "The deal's off. You're running us out of money." Again, just think. You write a $50 life app, they send you out money of $600. And we were writing life apps like crazy because we can recruit and we can build and we can get promotions. You don't get it. You know why? Because it's available. And you can turn on this anytime you want. We couldn't turn it on at Waddell and Reed. We couldn't recruit. We couldn't get promoted. We couldn't make all the money we wanted to make. And then we came over here, and this guys that we went crazy. We were unleashed. You see, a lot of people on this call, you don't, but you can. And so you know that whenever I'm ready, I will. You won't. There's got to be a pent-up demand somewhere for you. And so, and Art Williams knew that we were going to run out of money. And so Bob Turley ran into somebody named Bo Adams. Bo Adams was a wholesaler for National Home Life. And interesting story, which was run by a man named Art DeMoss. Art DeMoss had brought Bo Adams to Christ and hired Bo, although Bo was living in Atlanta. He's originally from Arkansas. And Bo became a great friend of mine. And so Bob Turley put them together with Bo Adams. And Bo Adams said, "We'll take your business." And Bo used to run an insurance company that had problems up in Denton, Texas, believe it or not, if anybody knows about Denton. And so he ran it. And anyway, the company failed, blah, blah, blah. So that's how we ended up going with National Home Life. So I remember flying up there. There's about 8 of us or 10 of us that went up there. And we met Bob Safford, who was their vice president of sales back then for them, met Art DeMoss. And so we finally had to leave our other company and went with National Home Life. And man, we started going nuts. And they provided, and they allowed this. and everything we hoped and dreamed of. But every time we got together, as RVPs, Art would say, we're probably not going to make it for 2.5 years. Every meeting we had, imagine me having a meeting every Saturday, probably not going to make it. All you folks, good luck. But if we do, it's going to be big. And so he kept saying that. And it wasn't until 1986, 9 years of having that guillotine over our heads. We may not last another month, because why? The insurance companies, we wrote so much business that they could not afford us. They weren't big enough. And about 12 months after, or maybe 13 months after, Arthur Moss loved us. And but they were a health insurance company who happened to be writing life insurance. That's how they all were. And he died of a heart attack. I think September of that year, probably September of 79 or 80. And the board of directors called Bo Adams and said the deal's off. And Bo had already come with us. So that was the second time we lost the company. We were out of business. Out of business. Second time. And he said, but they gave us 6 months to find another company, thank God. And so Bo's job was to keep us in business. And so there's a company out on the West Coast run by Stanley Byer named PennCorp Financial. PennCorp Financial was a health insurance company that happened to have an insurance carrier named Millico. That's the company we operate today. It's not Millico anymore, it's Primerica Life, but it's that company that changed names. And he had an affinity for people like us. He loved that the people that nobody counted on. They weren't the elites. They weren't to go to private universities. He loved people because he was one of us. He said, boy, people like you and me, we can do great things. And so he started doing business with PennCorp Financial and Millico. And I'll never forget, we were in Dallas, Texas, to a meeting, and we had a 2-day meeting. And the first night, Stanley Byer, there was about 30 of us there. And Stanley Byer is one of the most wonderful people in the world. He's still alive and connects with Art Williams on a regular basis. It was an emotional moment. All 30 of us were soldiers, and we didn't know if we were going to make it. And he brought the first sense of security, kind of like a godfather, a grandfather, that we're going to make it. And so he looked around the room. I'll never forget it. It seemed like it was minutes, but he looked at every one of us and said, do you understand? We keep this up, every one of you are going to become stone wealthy. And I can look at every one of you now. Do you want to be stone wealthy? Is that critical for you? Well, if you do want to become stone wealthy, you got the system. And man, our hearts were elated. The very next night, we had meetings all day, and we walked in that night for a night meeting. I saw Bo and Stanley Byer and Art. Heated discussion in the hallway, going like this, and Art was going nuts, and Stanley Byer just sat there, stone-faced, and Bo was going nuts. Stanley Byer had just told them the deal's off. Third time. We didn't have a company. And why? Because he said, your persistency's bad. We've got numbers. And Bo said, your numbers are wrong. And so we fought, and he gave us about 2 weeks to come up with the numbers. And thank God Bo did, and that we were right. But bam, we came that close to being out of business again. And so we knew that until we owned our own company, we'd always be under the guillotine of somebody else, because you just can't go down the street and find another company. And so in 1986, PennCorp sold off to American Can Corporation. American Can Corporation became Primerica. Citigroup bought out Primerica, headed by Sandy Weil. And because it was 1986 that we finally had a big company that had so much money that we knew we could not drain them dry. Here's the interesting thing. When you make a commission with Primerica, you get an advanced policy, but you also get as earned commissions. And when you write mutual funds, although we didn't write big cases, we wrote $50, $100, $200, occasionally $1,000, $2,000, whatever they had in cash values, we'd invest for them. And we lost all that, Daryl. All our as earned money, all our back end renewals with mutual funds, we didn't get a dime. Every time we left the company, they kept it all. But we kept going, we kept fighting. But we lost so many people every time we left the company. And so interesting thing about Johnny Caldwell, guy named Rhett Waller recruited Johnny Caldwell's son into Primerica, A.L. Williams. And that all heck broke loose because Johnny Caldwell was the insurance commissioner of Georgia. All heck broke loose. And then I forgot what year it was that we started the A.L. Williams Corporation. And we started looking around for board of directors. Who did we name to one of our board of directors? Johnny Caldwell. He became on our board once he left insurance commissioner, and he admitted it was all political. And he knew it. Another interesting story. Art DeMoss had a son named Mark DeMoss. Mark DeMoss ended up marrying April Williams, Virginia, Art and Angela's daughter. So again, the dots all connect. Mark DeMoss, Art DeMoss, Art Williams, Mark DeMoss, April Williams, now years later. And then when you walked into Art DeMoss's building, he had Christian verses. I can do all things through Christ who is my strength over the door. He's a strong Christian man, left $300 million to charity when he died. And so now we got our company and we've got the system. But and then what happened was 1980, Art retired and all heck broke loose. And then we became not the company we were, but the company we are. And my struggle and my effort is to get us back to the company we were, not the company we are. And so I became a cash millionaire 9 years after joining the company. And I became a cash millionaire by the time I was 39 years old. And you heard us talk about that yesterday with Omar. And wealth, I became wealth conscious. I read Think and Grow Rich many times. I did page 72, where he said, before you go to bed at night, when you wake up in the morning, recite this thing on wealth accumulation. And that's what I did. I was naive enough to believe it. And Art always talked to us about making and accumulating money because his whole life is, I don't want anybody telling me what to do. You say, well, Bill, are you anti-government? No, I'm anti-people telling me what to do. See, you got to have a chip on your shoulder. You can't say, well, I don't mind go work for a company and then tell me what to do as long as they pay me a paycheck. No, there's got to be a little rebel in you. There's got to be a little, I don't like bosses. I don't like jobs. I don't like careers. I don't like to have to go in at 9 o'clock in the morning, be gone till 5. I don't like to have to travel because that's what I got to do. I don't want to get chewed out by a boss. You got to have a little bit of that, a lot of that in you. Art Williams, he could not stand the boss. Interesting. I asked Art why he left coaching and went full time here. He said they threatened me. The school board found out I was doing this part time, making money. Insurance commission, the insurance people there in Columbus, Georgia, were all over the athletic director. Art is doing things illegal, and they threatened Art, the athletic director, and that got him to say, what I'm doing is right. I'm making money for my family, and they're telling me I can't do it anymore. No, And he said, this is not what I signed up for with the menu life of being a coach. And so he left and started with Waddell and Reed, our former company. But what do you want to get out of this? You know the history now. How many times we started and stopped. Our future has been forged in the past of struggle. We've been there. That's why we had a guy one time say, well, we're going to start our own company and we're going to be the new A.L. Williams. I said, well, we've already been through all the trials and tribulations that you're going to have to go through. And sure, that thing lasted about 8 months and then they all left, of course. Again, why life insurance for me? Why did I decide to be in the life insurance business? Because of how it paid. You know, there's only 3 ways I read to get wealthy. This is before the internet. And none of you are going to get wealthy on the internet because you're not one of the originators. Life insurance, banking, real estate. That's the only 3 ways that you're going to get wealthy in America. Well, I wasn't smart enough for real estate. I wasn't a banker. I didn't look like a banker, act like a banker, acquiesce like a banker. I like the way life insurance pays because you can make a lot of money in a short period of time and accumulate money, and you can recruit people and build people with it part-time. We're the only company on the planet that recruits people part-time. If you're not in this for the pay, then you're not going to be true to your spirit and be honest with people. You could not have recruited me if you'd not talked to me about making money. Like Mike Tuttle said, you'd not have recruited him if you weren't talking about making money. Art Williams made $40,000 in 2 years part-time in the insurance. This is the greatest money-making system on the planet. Name it. You know, Omar, we're talking to him. You know, in his neighborhood, he's got a lot of guys that make as much money as him, if not more. But they've got a gun to their head every day. They've got stress. They've got to produce. They've got to get results. And Omar is Omar. He's making his money whether or not he works. I love that. I love, like Mike Tuttle said, you can override other people. People that don't recruit befuddle me. What don't you like about free money? You want to work 18 hours a day for the rest of your life? Well, Bill, I love investments. Well, good. But you know something? You can never quit. Well, I love investments too, because I make about $350,000 a year overriding investments. But see, I don't like to work with clients. I don't mind getting a client, but I don't want to work with them the rest of my life. They call me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. How come the market dropped? Come on over so we can talk and look. You know, I like the life I live, and I want you to have the life I live. I like life insurance because of the value it brings. I honestly believe James 1:27 in the Bible says a true and genuine religion is taking care of the orphans and the widows in their distress. And so I have paid death claims, but I had the unique ability to, in my mind, imagine death claims. And so our goal for our hierarchy is 1 million death claims. I've got 2 major goals. I want 1 million death claims to be paid one day. Again, a life insurance policy is nothing more than a future death claim. And I want 1,000 of you to be making $1 million a year or more. That's why we have these things. That's why Tuesday night's important. That's why we have the conference call on Monday mornings. That's why we have Saturday training. That's why we have Omar. I want 1,000 people to think big enough to say, if I'm capable of making $1 million, I want to make $1 million. Now we have got enough people that want to make $1 million. There's some thermostat problems there where you shut down when you start making money as if it's bad. Why do I recruit? Out of gratitude, because I was recruited. I love recruiting. I love life insurance. A lot of people don't love life insurance. Why? Because it's not elite enough. Well, from where I came from, to get my own bathroom when someone's not pounding on the door, say, hey, about time for you kid to get out of there. I can go to my own bathroom and do my business without somebody pounding on the door. I didn't worry about elite. I flunked out of college. I didn't go to elite university. I've never bought anything at Neiman Marcus. The point is, if it pays, I want in on it. I don't care what the world thinks about it. Well, aren't you embarrassed being in the insurance business? No, I like the way it pays. Like one guy said to one of my people, he said, I can't believe you're in the insurance business. I mean, why are you in the insurance business of all things? He said, for about $250,000 a year, 250,000 good reasons every year to be in the insurance business. Meanwhile, he's unemployed. He's in a sophisticated computer. He works for Coca-Cola. That's not sophisticated. Well, I'm in real estate. No, you're not. You sell dirt and dirty houses. See, we get sophisticated. We want to impress people. Say, Omar and I want to impress you with our net worth. They want to impress you with their titles. Remember Dennis Kimbrough, middle class people, titles and degrees. Titles and degrees. They love those titles and degrees. That's why a lot of you are stuck in going RV. I'm an RVP. I don't care what you are. How much money you make. I didn't come here to be an RVP. I came here to make money. I didn't come here to be an SVP, and then I came here to make money. That's why when I ask you how much money you make, that tells me kind of a measurement dipstick what's going on inside your head and whether or not how bad you want this and how you want this for other people. I believe, I wrote a booklet years ago called The Deception of the Corporate Dream. If you read that booklet, that's a story of my life. All those things happened to me or someone I knew of. Corporations own you, control you. They determine, dictate your life to you. Like I was telling the guys, can you imagine having a life where people dictate how much money you're going to make, where you're going to live, what kind of house you'll own, someone dictating to you. Here's the kind of house you'll have. Here's the kind of car you'll drive. Here's the kind of clothes you'll wear. Here's the kind of vacations you'll take. Here's where your kids will go to school. And they dictate whether or not your wife or husband works. But you want to, that's called a job and the boss. And they dictate all that by what? Your paycheck. And I say in the Deception of the Corporate Dream booklet, imagine in a classroom and I'm the teacher and I say, no more grades, no more A or B's, no more D's, everybody gets C's no matter how hard you work. You're all going to get C's. Well, I take guys like Daryl and Larry and Bill Orender and say, we're D and F people. Great. I don't have to do anything. I'll get a C. But people that achieve like Dan and some of the other men, what? I'm working hard and I only get a C too. Sorry. That's called a salary. Who wants a salary where you're going to be what everybody else in your life, you make what everyone else makes? It didn't make any sense to me. If I worked hard and long, I wanted to get, that's why we got an idiot, a politician in America that says everybody ought to make the same money. Everybody ought to have the same net worth. This guy's never had a job. He's been a politician his whole life. It's hurting people if you don't reward them financially for getting ahead and burning the extra midnight oil and going the extra mile and working Saturdays and nights. Who in the hell wants a kid that just wants C's? Just give me a paycheck every week. I'm not going to push hard. I want my kids to have their butts burning all the time. And I don't know why, like Art said, my butt's always burning. I know my butt's always burning. I know you get tired of it and say, back off, Bill. You know what? If I back off, you back off. If I slow down, you'll slow down. Why do I recruit? Because there's people out there hurting. I didn't write this, but Walt, I forgot who it was. He said, Thoreau said, most men live lives of quiet desperation, low levels of misery. They're not living the happily ever after life. We gotta look what happened to us. We got a life, we got purpose, we got meaning. We're making a difference. We can build something that belongs to us. We planted our flag. I want other people to have that. And if they don't want it, wonderful. But one day, guess what's going to happen? When that check engine light comes in their life, they're going to wonder what in the heck happened. Because it's going to come to everybody unless you own your life. This is more than a symbol. This is you either own it or they own you. And we recruit because we want people to have what we have to offer. We see the value in it for them. Why this system? And I love my starfish story. You know, a guy goes to and a lot of you don't see the starfish story. You have not decided to save them all. Why? Save them all in Detroit, not just, well, I got a recruit last 3 months ago. Well, how many say, how many people in Detroit do you want to save? All of them. Everybody you call brother and sister. Yeah, they're not really when it comes to recruiting them and selling. You walk outside that church door, no longer brother and sister. They're what? Someone I got to talk to. Yeah. You understand the starfish are dying. Widows are not getting any money. Kids are being mothered without a father. People they got to work until their 80s because they don't have any money. Companies are sticking it to them. You know what? When I see all the starfish, I have a choice. Throw one back at a time and say, well, at least I helped that one and I go home, but the rest of them are dying. Or like Art Williams, thank God he decided I'm going to save them all. And I needed a system to do that. And much like the Wright brothers, when the Wright brothers brought a glider with the internal combustion engine, flight occurred. When Art saw the need of the people, he was a Moses. He was a Moses for the people and wanted to get them out of Egypt, out of financial slavery and living a mediocre life and having the wrong kind of life insurance or no life insurance. And he saw the power of the power of three, the multiples. And like he said, two things blew my butt out of the water. First one was the rule of 72. The second was the power of the multiple. He put those two together and created flight financially for all of us. Folks, our hierarchy pays 2 death claims a day. We paid over $1.3 billion in death claims to people. Because, why? I'm a builder and I'm a recruiter. And we've got over $3.5 billion in assets under management. So we're bringing the orphans and widows and the retirees, financial independence. And I love what Norman Dacey said in the book, What's Wrong with Your Life Insurance? Where will we find that man or woman to bring financial justice to all these people? When he is found and takes the job and does it, he will have created more financial independence than 100 years of Social Security. See, for years I thought that was Art Williams. So no, he's talking about me. I'm the one that has to step up. I'm the one that stop looking for Art. And so, folks, it's all you. How many people are you bringing to financial independence? Your income is determined by how many people you bring financial independence. How many widows and orphans and retirees and elderly you've taken care of? How many young people are you bringing in saying, doesn't have to be that way? I believe the transformational power of the United States lies in the shoulders of Primerica. I really believe that. We can accomplish more things socially by our system than 100 years of government stuff. Because why? we can take people out of the life they don't want to have and offer them opportunity. Why am I money motivated? Because I believe, and I said this a little bit before, there's something deep inside each one of us that says you're supposed to make money and accumulate money. And you won't know for years why. All you know is I'm supposed to. For me, I didn't want to have my parents on my thumb. I had a paper out when I was 11 years old. Why? Because I wanted my own money. I didn't want to have to say, Mom, Dad, can I have some money? I wanted my own money. I always made money. I had paper out. I started, a job part-time in a flower shop after I gave up the paper out, and I kept it till I was 23 years old. Part-time, in between when I was off of school. I always liked money in my pocket, and I hated not having any money. I hated using credit cards. And my dad hated rich people. He's old school, Depression era, born in 1915. Came to his parents never spoke English. I had two sets of grandparents. Both my grandfathers had died early. My mother, I could never talk to my grandparents because they didn't speak English. And it's so funny, whenever I'd walk into a room and my mother and grandmother were talking, she didn't talk any English, but she'd be talking Slovak. My grandmother was Slovak. And they look at me and they know they couldn't talk any English because they were gossiping. It was really cute. And so I wanted to make money. I wanted to have my own money. And Art Williams said, either you're financially independent or you're not, and there's no in between. And until you're financially independent, somebody owns you. And he talked to us about making money, accumulating money. Because in the early days, we didn't know if we were going to be here another month from now. All you folks, it's so easy for you. The company's here. You're going to be here. Whenever you're darn well ready, you're going to do it. But not right now. See, we didn't have that luxury. Art said, I'm not sure how long this is going to last. They may shut us down. We might not be able to find another insurance company. So if we're going to make, we might as well make all we can and accumulate all we can, at least walk away from here with a potload of money. In fact, I had a goal of having $100,000 put away. As you know, I talked about that yesterday. I obsessed about it. I drove Carol crazy, still drive her crazy today. My money accumulation goals are off the charts. And so, and I knew that I needed another car and decided to buy a Cadillac. I paid like $13,000 for it. Brand new Cadillacs back then were probably 25 or 30. And I picked Art Williams up at the airport, and he got in the car in silence. I knew he was steamed. First words out of his mouth, "What in the hell is this?" Isn't that a good mentor? What are you buying a car like this for? I said, Art, I paid cash. It cost me $13,000, half price, because it was used, and I got $100,000 put away. He said, all right. See, Art rarely talked to us about what are your numbers this month. He talks to us about two things: how much money you make, how much money you put away. Because that's, again, the purpose of all this we're going through is for you to make money and accumulate money and have some financial wherewithal in your life and to offer it to other people. Don't think other people don't want this. They don't want to be in the insurance business. I love insurance business, how it pays. And I love the value we bring to widows and orphans. And I love mutual funds, the value we bring. But if it didn't pay, I wouldn't do it. Same as you, by the way. Start selling no-load life insurance and no-load mutual funds and see how long you stay in the business. So I became money motivated. I did not want to go back. Mike Tuttle said to me about 3 years ago, he said, I wake up every day grateful for where I'm at and a little fearful it's going to go away. Just vanish. In other words, he's got that edge on him all the time. And see, that's how once you build it, and you work hard for it, you appreciate it, but you also realize it could go away if you don't pay attention. Like your health. Try not getting on a scale every now and then, see what happens. I saw this thing said carbs kill. I believe it. The only way I can do any kind of sense of is not eat carbohydrates. I mean, why? I've got to be diligent every day. I got to go to church so often. I'm happy for some of you don't. I have to go to church a lot. Because why? If I back off, I become the Bill Orender that I used to be, and I don't want to go back to that. If I back off here, I go back to worrying about money, fretting about money, and I don't want to go back. I don't want Carol to have to fret about money ever again. I don't want my kids to fret about money. I want to make an impact in society. Again, I don't know why, but you're supposed to accumulate money, and then you'll know years down the road. Years down the road, something will come into your life. You'll say, oh, this is why I was supposed to accumulate money. And we heard that with Mike Tuttle. We showed it last week with tears in his eyes. Again, Mike had the time and he had the money to make a difference with those people that are under the radar screen of life. He's their only hope. But you know what? He worked hard. He built a hierarchy. He got overrides. He wanted to get wealthy. He didn't want to have anybody's thumb on him. And he's seeing the fruits of that now. Why an RVP factory? Because I want people to have what I have. Art Williams said the purpose of being an RVP is to create RVPs. I love promoting RVPs. I'm surprised more people don't want to be an RVP. Why? Because their dreams aren't big enough. And I blame myself. If I'm not dreaming big, if you want people to dream like this, you better have a dream like this. Some of you are dreaming like this, thinking, why can't I find somebody who wants to be $1 million earner? Because you don't want to be. And your verbiage and you're talking to them isn't $1 million talk. I love RVPs. I love having RVPs who have RVPs who have RVPs. Because they're building wealth. They're building security, unlimited income, secure income. I can never talk about that enough. And an explosive income of anything people need in life today. Unlimited income, secure income, explosive income. You know, a lot of realtors are making a lot of money now. The wait is coming. Because why? They don't have secure income. They're not overriding. And it's funny how we've got to apologize for wanting to override other people when they are being overridden by their bosses. It's hilarious. You don't want to recruit because you're embarrassed about overrides. I know you. I asked you your recruiting numbers. You're embarrassed to recruit because why? You're getting them into something. Yeah, you're getting them into overrides. That's what you're getting them into. Why do I still have a base shop? Because my purpose isn't over yet. I'm here to create RVPs who have RVPs, and you know, I believe that when you're finished, God will take you home. My heroes are people in their 80s and 90s. Chuck Swindoll, you know, we go to his church. He's 86. He's still preaching like there's no tomorrow. I love Michael DeBakey, was a heart surgeon. 2 weeks before he died, he was having heart surgery at 92 on somebody. If God puts a dream in your heart, you can't back off. You can't slow down. Why is Art Williams significant in my life? As I said earlier, you might have heard me say it. I love the quote. When Art dies, I'm going to get over his death. But I'm never going to get over his life. And the life he taught me to live. You know, a profound understanding of certain people who are born and walk this earth. Some of them are so special that their words are going to be quoted for generations to come, just like Lincoln. I mean, there's such a comparison to Lincoln and and Art Williams, Lincoln. If you know anything about the Civil War, and I didn't know until I read some books, man, 450,000 people died for the freedom of a certain group of people. 450,000 died for a certain group of people. And this system of free enterprise and democracy was so rare, was not available in the world. And the United States created that through our founding fathers. And he was so afraid that the Civil War would break up this icon of democracy and freedom of people. Because if it didn't work, the rest of the world would have given up on it. And he didn't want to have it go down on his watch. Just like Art Williams said, I'm going to start a company so that people can own a company within a company. And I'm going to give people freedom they can't get anywhere else. And this is the place they could come to have that freedom. This is the place they can come to have their dreams come true. This is the place they can come to be financial independent. They can come here, just like people say, I can come to the United States. Art Williams has quotes that made my life better. He challenges me every day because I'm doing some writing on Art Williams. I've got thousands of words about him that I'm accumulating so I don't want to forget what he meant in my life. I've got over 265, 2 or 3, 4, 5 paragraphs about art. Remembering, because I wanted us to keep this in mind for generations to come. You know, in your life, you're going to have measuring marks. And like they say, your life is going to be determined by what you read and who you associate with. And your life is going to be marked by who are those people in my life that made a difference, that become the iconic people. Whatever that, remember those foreheads of the presidents, whatever they call it, you know, in North Dakota. Well, Art Williams is one of those in my life. And you're going to be measured by who was it that you followed? Who was it that you learned from? Who was it that you studied? Who was it that you didn't want to disappoint? That your life might have been a father. Rarely it's a father. Rarely. Might be an uncle, might be a grandfather. For my life, you know, my dad was a wonderful man, but he was my dad, and, you know, he didn't accomplish great things. He was a factory worker, made less money than my mom. My life changed when I met Art Williams. He taught me life. He taught me how to have a great marriage. He taught me how to become wealthy. He taught me how to become a better Christian. He taught me how to treat other people. And see, I praise God that he wasn't my mentor, but he was my tutor. I had to learn from him. And what is my purpose in life? To make a difference with my life, to be somebody, to amount to something. Art Williams said, the winners, they do it, and they do it, and they do it. Then he talked about how great it is to be somebody that you're proud of, and how you're not like everybody else. See, folks, there's something deep inside of every soul that God puts in there. There's a giant waiting to come out. We have to release them. What if we're supposed to do something great with your life and no one ever told you? They heard me talking about, what if all they ever asked Babe Ruth to do was bunt? What if they only asked Michelangelo to carve bird baths? See, what if all they've ever asked you is make a living and pay your bills and be happy? No, there's something going on in your life that's going to manifest itself here. I read this about Abraham Lincoln. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any one thing. Your own personal resolution to succeed. Tommy Lasorda, the famous manager of the Dodgers, said the difference between the impossible and the possible lies in a person's determination. You're put here for a reason. You know you could accomplish great things, but something's holding you back. And that's why Art Williams said, I love this story. Tony, are you gonna be able to show that, plant your flag? All right, we'll start that in about a minute. February the 10th of 1977 occurred, changed all our lives, changed all of it. And why did it happen? Because Art had reflected on his life, and he said, I always held something back. I was always afraid if I gave it my all and didn't make it, I couldn't live with myself. So from a school standpoint, I never gave my all grade-wise. As an athlete, I never gave it my all. In business, I never gave it my all. And I was getting comfortable with living a life that not giving my all would provide. I couldn't live with that. He said, I could not live with the thought that I'd not given it my all one time in my life. On February the 10th of 1977, he made it this. Folks, he was making $100,000 a year, cushion job at Waddell and Reed. He is the golden boy. And so what is that? What's your day coming that you can mark when you can say, that was my day, February 10th? Is May the 15th your day? Is May the 18th? If you think it's going to be 5 years from now, it's not going to happen. If you're denying what's inside your heart that needs to escape, release that giant. And I'll thank Dan for bringing up that plant your flag. There's a video from a movie called Far and Away with Tom Cruise. Again, look what people had to do to own a piece of this world. Look what they had to go through. And when you see him plant that flag, understand it's not, I planted my, no, it's my flag. It's my life, my kids, my family, my world, my time on this earth. It's mine. And I'm going to plant my flag to show this is it. So Tony, can you show that, please?
Fight my destiny!
Thank you. That means a lot to me. All of us have been given a flag the minute you joined Primerica. And the question is, are you going to plant it? You know, Keenan Tennyson talks about how a man goes to a restaurant and he's looking at the menu, and he's a frequent guest there. And the waiter kid said, listen, you're such a good guest. Whatever you want, we're going to make. What is it you want? Anything. And so we told them to specifications. Meanwhile, the whole group came in, and they get off the menu and they order and they get served pretty quickly. And the man called the waiter and said, listen, I've been here a long time. They came in, they were, they got served before me. He said, oh, see, they ordered off the menu. You ordered, we got a custom meal coming for you. And it's going to take a little longer. We have a choice to make. In that movie, Far and Away, and to make his dreams come true, he had to beat somebody else out. And their dream didn't come true because they couldn't have it. Only he could have it. Here, anybody can have it. But you have to understand, this is not a menu of life. You're ordering you're ordering a customized life that you want and only you want. No one else will understand it. Why don't you want the life I have? It's off the menu. Make a living, pay my bills, grow tomatoes on the weekends. They'll never understand you. They'll never agree with you. But no, that's going to take a little bit longer. You're going to work longer at night. And that's why, like Rabbi Lappin said, God did not create us to be bricks where everyone looks the same, makes the same, has the same. That's Russia. That's China. Here, everyone's rocks. Everyone's dreams are different. Everyone grows at a different pace. Everyone has different size hierarchies. But folks, it is customized to you. We are blessed people. And the more we appreciate our blessing, the faster it happens. Whatever you're grateful for will multiply. Folks, I pray for so many of you on a daily basis, waiting for God to awaken the real you he put inside of you. Not the menu you that you've accepted for all these years, that special you to give you the life he's customized that he wants you to have and your children to have and your children's children's children. All right, everybody, it's been my pleasure to be here today. God bless. See you on Tuesday night. Bye-bye.
That was amazing.
Yes.
People do not realize
No.
what they have just witnessed.
Yeah.
Never have I seen Bill Orender actually go through his story from start to finish.
Yeah. That was.
This was history today,
Yes.
and the ones who were here get to see it, and the ones who weren't don't.
Amen.
That's why we say, hey, man.
Yep. So guys, let's not waste this. Let's own it and take it off.
Hey,
Goodbye,
Tom,
guys. See you at the top.
Bye, Fumi. Thanks.
we had a history lesson today.
Yeah.